going to get started here out of respect for everyone's time. Again, we thank you for being here. My name is Ronald Coleman Jr. I am the Educator Support Specialist here at the Texas Education Agency. Really super fortunate, super grateful that I get to support all of you through this work, growing your own educators, increasing and improving the educator pipeline is something that's near and dear to my heart since I started teaching about 10 years ago. For everyone who's new to Grow Your Own and potentially new to Decision4, what we are doing here is facilitating the increased entry of qualified, diverse candidates into the teaching profession. Grow Your Own began out of the Rural Schools Task Force, so we do have a particular focus and particular interest in supporting rural and small schools, where the attrition rate across the state is twice as high if you work at a school that has less than 500 students as compared to a school or a district that has over 50,000. So it's always good to just go back and make sure we're here for the right reasons and we remember why we are filling out this grant application. If your district can still benefit from these supports, this information here and the action steps after are going to be extremely important. I do want to pause and make it known for all 457 participants that Grow Your Own has a timeline that is not quite as urgent. Extremely important right now, but not quite as urgent as some of the other decisions. So just wanted to make that known for you all here, and you'll see why in a minute. But again, if your LEA, if your district has teacher shortages, has demographic gaps between students and teachers, has high attrition, as paraprofessionals interested in completing their degrees and being certified, or you want to offer programs that encourage and prepare high school students to pursue a career in education and teaching, you're here in the right place. And we will work with you, we at the agency, to make sure that all your questions are answered after this webinar and make sure that you are able to follow this TCLAS timeline and follow the Decision4 timelines. We, again, are here to support you and make your lives as easy as possible in enacting these initiatives. The agenda for today's webinar. So we just went through the welcome and introductions. We are about to move into a general section on TCLAS award next steps. After that, we will go into a little bit of a deep dive on Decision4 on Grow Your Own. And we will conclude this webinar with a recap and next steps. We have an hour allotted for this time, but my goal here is to be as clear, be as concise as possible, so that you all can get out of here in under an hour. I am going to pause because I see a message here in the chat that says the slides are very small. So I'm going to switch this out of presenter view for you all. Okay, please put a 1 in the chat if that helped the slides, and they are much bigger now. Excellent, thank you all for helping me out here. Okay, so again, we're gonna try and get you out of here in under an hour, and I do wanna reset for our 20 new participants who just joined that please drop any questions. Please type those into the chat whenever, and then you can save them for the end as well. But put those in the chat. We are not going to answer those live today. What we are going to do is take those questions back. We are going to add them to our current FAQ document, and then we are going to send those out to the 465 participants here on this webinar and anyone else who was not able to join us today. So thank you all. Questions as they come up, please put those in the chat. I will make sure I get those and we answer those in a timely fashion. So next steps here with TCLAS in general. What you have done is you've completed the award confirmation survey and recommitted to program assurances for all award supports. The second thing on this list that we are doing here today is completing this onboarding program. Some of you have been to the webinars for other decisions. Some of you, this may be your only webinar. What we are going to do here today is kind of outline for you all what needs to be done in the rest of this month leading into next month, and what lies ahead for Decision4 so that you have a clear understanding of the supports that you're going to be given and what it takes to just launch Decision 4, to launch Grow Your Own, to be successful. And I want to let everybody know that after this webinar, you should definitely feel comfortable in being able to do that. The third thing here in the next steps for TCLAS is that you are going to go out and complete the eGrants application. And the timeline for completing that, and I'll mention this date several times, is October 29th. And they are processed on a first come, first served basis there. Moving on so that you can see this in a different visual for the rest of the month of September. You'll see here we have the general TCLAS activities in green. In blue, the eGrants webinar that happened on the 17th. So if you have not seen that, you'll be able to go on and watch the recording on the TCLAS webpage. And then in red here, the support specific webinars that have been happening over the last 2 weeks for all of the decisions. I will make note that after this webinar, from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Central, Decision 7 is happening. So if you are a potential recipient of Decision 7, and please stay on for that webinar. It will be, the link will be provided if you registered ahead of time. So that's where we are. I also want to make note that on Friday, the 24th, from 9 to 10 a.m., there is also an eGrants office hour. So if you were not able to attend on the 17th, there is one on the 24th. And we have other dates that I will share with you as well here. So the TCLAS application timeline, just so you can see this in another form here. You all have submitted the Qualtrics survey application. In step 2, we will be finalizing those eGrants applications by October 29th. And you'll do that for all of your decisions. And then the grant negotiation process is going to happen between then. And all NOGAs tentatively will be sent out. The deadline we are hoping for is December 1st, which means after December 1st, our official work together and our pre-implementation year can begin. More optional eGrants application webinars. You'll see one has already happened. We have one this Friday. There will be one on October 1st, another on the 15th, and then another on the 29th. Feel free to stop and take a picture of this registration links so that you can fill out the ones that you are able to attend. Excellent. So specific to Grow Your Own, by October 29th, in completing that eGrants application, you'll be reviewing and accepting your award amounts. And I just want to go back over these again because we have been getting questions on them. And this might take care of some of the FAQs that would come through in our chat here today. So 4A, which was originally Pathway 2 for anyone who is a recipient of cycles 1 through 4. So 4A is our paraprofessional certification and education pathway. Again, certification only candidates are receiving, or districts are receiving 8,000 for each of those candidates. Now, the way that's broken up, if you look over to the right in the chart, is that 7,500 of that 8,000 is a direct reimbursement or stipend to each candidate. And the 500 added on top to make the 8,000 total, that is reserved as indirect costs or administrative costs to the district. 4A, the second piece of that, the larger sum of money, that 19,000, is for degree completion and certification completion candidates. So those candidates, it works in a similar way. 18,000 of that, if you direct yourself over to the chart, is a direct reimbursement or stipend to the candidate. The 1,000 that completes that 19 goes to the district as indirect or administrative costs for supporting the candidate in that. Similar thing happens here in 4B. 4B, which used to be our Pathway 1 certified educator stipends, is $11,000 per educator who is teaching dual credit courses. $10,000 goes directly to the candidate, $5,000 each year for the 2-year grant cycle, and $1,000 is an indirect or administrative cost that goes to the district to support anything with that pathway 1 or with that education and training coursework. And then any educator who is teaching courses not for dual credit will receive $5,000 over the course of those 2 years, so $2,500 each year. And then there's an additional $500 that is given to the district as administrative or indirect costs there. The last piece of this, 4C, is our funding specifically for the ENT program pathways, right? So 4B is for the educators, 4C is for the installation of the programs, or the renewal and the addition and the revisement of pre-existing programs. So $10,000 goes to any new campus that did not previously have an education and training program, or any current dual credit or new dual credit campus. And then any campus that is not teaching for dual credit and already had a program is receiving $8,000 per campus. So when you look at your district, when you look at your campuses within a district, each campus can only be responsible for a $10,000 amount or a $8,000 amount. It cannot satisfy both, 10 or 8 for each campus. So again, this is what you'll be just looking at, making sure your numbers are correct. And in eGrants by October 29th, you'll be submitting that information again. We did have a frequently asked question that came through, and it read, bullet point 3 on the prerequisites for stipend reads, candidates must have the capacity to graduate with a bachelor's degree and teacher certification within the timeline of the grant. So does this mean that candidates who have completed their bachelor's degree but need to alter are disqualified? So the response to that is no, the $8,000 stipend is for these candidates. This prerequisite should read, candidates must have the capacity to graduate with a bachelor's degree and or teacher certification within the timeline of the grant. So that is an and or there. Thank you to the individual who spotted that and sent that out to us. So we wanted to make sure we clarified that for all 469 participants here today. We've just completed the general TCLAS section with a little bit of a spin-off into the Grow Your Own deep dive. So I'm going to continue here. And remember, if you do have any questions about anything as they come up, please put those into the chat. We will save those and we will send them back out in a FAQ document and post them to the website. So here in our decision for deep dive, we wanted to let everyone know from a 5,000-foot view what the implementation timeline looks like. So the academic year that we are currently in, 21 to 22, is your planning year for Grow Your Own, for Decision 4, right? And you all will be part of our cycle 5, right? So in the planning year, we're going to go over in a second what is the most important information, the most important action steps on your part to make Grow Your Own a smooth and successful endeavor. And then the 2 implementation years are the following academic years. So the 22-23 school year, that's year 1 of the grant. And 23-24 would be your final concluding year 2 of implementation with the grant. To look at it a little bit more in depth, we thought this chart would be extremely helpful for anyone who's been part of Grow Your Own in the past or is moving into Grow Your Own through Decision 4 for the first time. And again, welcome. So 921 here, you'll be starting the review of the requirements, attending this webinar or watching the recording, and both. And then by 10/29, October 29th, you all will be completing the eGrants application to confirm your awards. Something that you'll want to start looking at within those requirements is thinking ahead for course scheduling for next year and the MOU process. Now, the MOU process, as you begin and after you receive your notification of grant acceptance and award, we will take you through a process that gives you samples of MOUs, but just from that 5,000 perspective, that 5,000 foot view, the MOUs will happen between you all and any educator prep programs. You will also want to have MOUs in process and need to have MOUs in process with your candidates. And the MOU process with those candidates will outline the timeline for them receiving those stipends and outline any qualifications, any requests that you all have, and commitments for those candidates to receive their degrees, receive their certifications, and commit to staying in your district for 2, 3, X amount of years. Again, as we've mentioned, on December 1st will be the official NOGA. That date is subject to change slightly, but that is what we are aiming for. March 1st will be the first candidate submission that you will submit to the GYO team. All that means is we will need to collect from you all, from the districts, the names and some information on each candidate, including email, so we can begin to start that process of building out program supports for you all. 4/22, so sometime in April is when we will have our kickoff for cycle 5. Kickoff just means another webinar like this. It will be somewhere between 30 to 60 minutes. And in that webinar, what we do is we also bring in a panel of previous GYO recipients or anyone out there who might not be receiving GYO funding, but is doing an extremely well thought out, intentional job of recruiting students to education and training courses. So we bring in anyone from the field who we think y'all can benefit from, and it's a chance for you to learn about what's working in those districts and to ask questions and brainstorm and prepare for you all recruiting for the 22-23 school year, so we can have ENT courses that are full of future educators. 5/15/22 is another deadline. That will be just candidate confirmation. So we'll reach back out to everyone to confirm the information you have already submitted. So this is not, it may seem like an additional ask. What it is actually our support to you all so that we can keep track of candidates as we go, because what will happen sometimes is a candidate might drop out, and we want to make sure that you guys are thinking through that, and you all are sending out those communications to make sure candidates are still ready to go for the program, still committed to be part of GYO and to remain in your district for the years to follow. So we've found that in the past few years, checking in and having that point maintains communication and keeps our attrition rates low. The final date that we want to let everyone know about here is June 2022. That is our annual Education and Training Summer Institute. So if you are a district who is only accepting 4A, which is the paraprofessional pathway, you do not need to attend this Education and Training Summer Institute. You're more than welcome to, in case you apply again and you do want to have that jumpstart, have that experience, have that professional learning around what it takes to launch an education and training program and to collaborate with colleagues here. So that will happen in June, and the dates for the kickoff and the dates for our institute will be sent out somewhere along this candidate submission in March. So y'all will have plenty of time to put that on your calendars and prepare. As we move forwards in this deep dive on GYO, I just want to remind everyone to go back and take a look at page 48 in the TCLAS documentation that's listed right on the TCLAS website. You can download that as a PDF. Page 48, you can skip right to decision 4 and just check to make sure that these are on your radar, right? Signing an MOU between your district and candidates, and calendaring in this March date, and we'll give you plenty of reminders for that as well. And just make sure that you all have the capacity to submit a report twice a year, just with updated information on how your candidates are doing and which students you have in your ENT courses. We try to keep this as light as possible and support you along the way. Also, this is a reminder for Decision 4 to take a look at page 47 as well. You will need an MOU between the LEA and the EPP partner. And make sure you're starting to think about, in this implementation year, how paid release time and scheduling flexibility for those paraprofessional candidates, how that is going to work within your district and within your campuses, and where in the budget you want to pull those funds from. So in the past, most districts have utilized the additional $500 or the additional $1,000 per candidate as that indirect cost to support paid release time. And then districts also, if anything is needed in terms of your certified educators, you can pull that from the indirect cost there, or you can pull that from the $8,000 or the $10,000 that you were given for that previously pathway 1, but now 4B and 4C. And again, just to remind everyone here, the 6 candidate max per LEA, that is 6 in total. So that could have been any combination of 6 degree to 0 just certification to 3 and 3, or vice versa. But it is not 6 for each of those, 6 total. I already went through this on page 47, that you'll see that establishing a participatory relationship between either TAFE or FCCLA is a requirement to being part of Decision 4 and being part of Grow Your Own. And what that looks like is you'll be able to pull those funds from the $8,000 or the $10,000 per campus, and it's more than enough to cover that. We do want to make note of one thing that is new for folks here, the pilot and feedback on education and training curriculum. So anyone participating here in cycle 5 will have access to our education and training curriculum team, and our vendor who is taking and revising the curriculum for 3 of our courses. So instructional practices, principles of education and training, and practicum. So all those courses are being revised at the time. So any educators who are teaching these courses will have access to those materials as well, and have the option to give feedback and participate in a more structured pilot. And again, 2 candidates per campus. I'm going to stop here and read another FAQ for y'all. And this might be a chance for anyone to add questions in the chat, or put any questions in the Q&A here. Just again, to remind y'all that the questions will not be answered live here today for the sake of time. And we will take those and provide written answers and put them in the FAQ document for Decision 4 Grow Your Own. So here we are, FAQ number 2. As written in the program guidelines, it says offer instructional practices and or practicum in the 2022-23 and the 23-24 at all high schools. So this is a really common question that we've been receiving. So the intention behind this program assurance that all high schools are offering courses is that we're not leaving any students in your district out of having the opportunity to pursue a career in education. So the intentions for all high schools with traditional staffing resources to offer education and training courses as stated in the guidelines. What we have been sharing with individuals, and this will be sent out at large as well, is that if an LEA cannot find a way for every high school to offer courses, we'll work with you all to make sure that every student in the district has the option to take those courses. So whether it's virtual or whether there's a busing system there. And so that is the way that we can get around this or work within this to fulfill the purpose of the grant. Again, the implementation timeline. So year one, when that begins, we just wanted to quickly go over the supports that you all are going to receive. So all LEAs are going to receive guided support from TEA, from our external partners. We have created an implementation guide for those who are new and want more hands-on, more structured support with setting up these MOUs, with setting up scheduling, with setting up staffing. Again, as mentioned, here in the third circle here, we're creating high quality instructional materials and have educators from cycle 3 and cycle 4 currently working to provide feedback in real time with our vendor and with our highly skilled individuals on staff who are supporting that process. We also are going to offer for cycle 5 weekly office hours for you to pop into. Monthly programming, and that can be around strong partnerships and planning for sustainability after the 2-year grant cycle, around intentional teacher leadership, around supporting you with your work with TAFE and FCCLA. And so what we do is we offer these as optional services to you, knowing that you all are doing amazing work out there in your districts to take care of this work. Summer Institute is a consultative service that we provide. That is a grant requirement there, the pilot. And then we also have our GYO inbox where you can send questions to and set up ad hoc meetings outside of monthly programming and outside of our weekly office hours. Our deep dive training schedule, I wanted to give everyone here a sample of what this is looking like for the fall and winter. So you have a understanding of what this monthly schedule looks like. So we are kicking off our community partners webinar series where we think really intentionally and we're bringing in experts who have 75 partnerships for their Grow Your Own programs to sustain them without state funding. So we're going to be working through what does it look like to backwards plan that process from them having 75 partners. And we know people are starting at 0. We also know people are starting in different places too and might bring some of that experience to the table. So these are both professional development and collaborative sessions here that we are hosting in October, in January, and in April. We have our student recruitment panel. You all will be invited to this one here, as well as our current cycles. And then our strategic use of Texas Teach Like a Champion online is something that you all will experience next year. This is session 2 coming from Institute. Several of the participants last year wanted a follow-up session to the overview in Institute. So just to let you all know that we create this programming as optional supports for you, for educators to improve their practice and for you all to just get support in this process, because we know you have a lot going on. If you were in any of the other decision webinars, you might have seen that there might be some immediate or necessary next steps in terms of digital access. This slide is here to let you all know that Grow Your Own does not have an immediate digital access requirement. What we will be working with you all on between December 1st, Notice of Grant Award, and our Summer Institute in June is helping you and your educators to make sure that everyone has a login to TLAC online to be prepared to have access to that during our session in June and then the follow-up session next November. So what's going to happen here during the implementation year 1, we're still in that section of the deep dive, is you're going to be confirming those paraprofessionals again for 4A prior to March 1st and sending that in a spreadsheet that we provide you. You're going to be drafting and signing MOUs to set up those agreements, set up those partnerships. Any strong Grow Your Own program is set and based on those agreements, so everyone is aware of payment timelines, stipend distribution, what the roles are, and who's supporting who in those processes. So please Do not feel like you are on your own in doing that. We have samples where we have blocked out the district's names who have provided them, and have a few that we've created here to be able to share with you all. So as soon as December 1st hits, we'll be making sure that everyone has access to all of that once you're part of the program. The third FAQ, and this is our final FAQ for this session here, is a question that's been asked fairly often. So will a district be penalized if paraprofessional candidates are unable to complete their certification or degree within the 2-year grant cycle? This is a great question. We will work with any and all districts to help all of your candidates complete their degree and certification work within the 2-year grant cycle. We know that we don't live in a perfect world where everything happens according to plan. What we're going to do with you all is utilize additional funding to support additional candidates if a candidate were to drop, or repurposing that funding across Decision 4B and 4B within the mission, the vision, and appropriate spending guidelines of the grant. So again, that's a long way of saying a district will not be penalized. Our goal is to work with you, not penalize you in this process. And in the same way, we hope that that work happens between LEA and all of our candidates as well. But again, that highlights the importance of a strong MOU. According to plan here, we're going to get out before the hour is up. So just again, I direct everyone's attention here to the 2 email addresses on the screen. So any additional questions that you have regarding TCLAS in general, regarding Grow Your Own under Decision 4, with respect to the application that you're currently going to be putting in e-grants by the 29th, or anything along the way, what to expect with Grow Your Own, that information, anything Grow Your Own specific, can go to the GYO grant at tea.texas.gov email address. And anything that is regarding the e-grant process in general, or TCLAS logistics in general, can go to this second email address, tclass@tea.texas.gov. So we're just going to review and recap the next steps here. Submission is required, completing that e-grants application by October 29th. The e-grants application will open in mid-September. You have those office hours that are running every Friday concurrently up until that date. And there's even a office hours webinar the morning of the 29th that these are due. Additional guidance on this will follow. And so we're going to read this slide. Like, this support, right? It is a heavy lift and it's intended to have a large impact. Grow Your Own, we have impacted over 10,000 students in the last 4 cycles. We've impacted hundreds of paraprofessional candidates and supported them financially in terms of completing their degree, in terms of receiving their certification, and now being lead classroom teachers. And so the supports that we're going to provide, they obviously have a significant impact, a lasting impact on learning acceleration for your students, and they require a significant amount of time and effort for you and your staff. But again, I want to reiterate that we are here, we have a team, we have partners, and we're here to help you along the way. So if after today's webinar, you do not believe that your LEA can fully commit to all the requirements and assurances, just send an email to tclass@tea.texas.gov. But I would even encourage before that, reach out to the GYO inbox and just address anything there before making a decision to not accept. What we have heard from any district that's been part of GYO is that this is well worth it, that this is impactful, this is meaningful, and it really is a amazing, intentional, important, and critical strategy towards increasing educator pipelines and that system that we have going. So again, you all have completed this onboarding process at this time. Your homework, if we will say, is completing any additional onboarding. So what that means is going back and looking at all of the requirements in the TCLAS document on page 47 and page 48, making sure that your candidate numbers are correct, your campus numbers are correct, and then completing the eGrants application, and that will close on October 29th. And again, any questions that come up in the meantime, program specific, decision for specific, grow your own specific, please send to gyogrant@tea.texas.gov. And any other questions, please send those to tclass@tea.texas.gov. Thank you again. We appreciate everyone's time, and we appreciate what you do for the 5 million students here across the state of Texas. Thank you all. And last but not least, if you still have questions, please put those in the Q&A, or please put those directly into the chat. We will be looking and sourcing from both places and getting those out as soon as possible. Hope y'all have a wonderful evening. Take care.